Welcome back, everyone. This week, we're going to be covering the weekly performance report, closing out the second month of the year. Quite honestly, my numbers are not looking impressive and are looking unimpressive. So let's skip to the good stuff. If you want to read this, in the description, there'll be a link to the Substack. You can read the finer details if you'd like. I ended the week up 0.67%. And then the less impressive news, which that in and of itself is not too impressive, is I closed February down 2.42%, and thus far year to date I'm down 3.42%, and the S&P is up 6.89%, which means that I'm underperforming by over 10%. With that said, let's move on to positions. I do not believe I added to any names this week. There's a lot of earnings reports that I need to catch up on. I was thinking of publishing something. It'll be in the coming days. I've been swamped and busy this past week and whatever, but Tidewater, I wanted to publish something on Tidewater. The stock shot up 15% on Friday, I believe it was. So that's nice. And then Grown Rogue reported earnings, I think on the 28th or the 29th. So I'd like to cover that as well. And then, something, oh yeah, Leonardo. That thing is finally, hopefully, breaking out because that was a frustrating few months of sideways action, but is what it is. Let me see, Kodiak Gas Services, KGS, up 46% on that, which is nice. I'm kind of proud of that one. I mean, for position size, I actually kind of got greedy with it too, which is kind of atypical and abnormal because something like that is kind of a low conviction play to some extent, but it was over 5% at one point in time just as a consequence of, I think it was at least, or maybe it was a 5% position, similar to Town Square, I thought. Or maybe it was Surge Payout. Anyway, Kodiak Gas Services is doing well. Seemingly, I've locked in a nice dividend until a recession comes and the stock falls a good amount, but until then. So, Tidewater and Grown Rogue are the ones I really wanted to focus on. Green Thumb reported earnings, kind of beat expectations. Stock didn't do anything. But it was mainly Leonardo did well past week. Tidewater did well the past week. And like I said, I'd like to do a couple of updates on them, shorter posts covering the conference call, what they said. Tidewater said, it's interesting, the capital cycles. Most people, most of the time, seemingly are focused on demand, and it's a supply side. I don't know why people don't pay attention to the supply side more than what they do, and as though it's not a supply demand balance, but people just fixate in a unidimensional fashion on demand without factoring in and considering supply. But Tidewater even mentioned in their conference call, and I'll be noting this in the post I make, that it's a heavily supply driven story. So if there's a lot of supply, then there's not much pricing power. And if there's not much supply in the form of OSVs, then there is pricing power and just basic understandings. But it's nice that someone clarifies it and articulates it in such a simple way. It's a supply side story, and there's no new builds, and leading edge day rates have gone up, and I think they made more revenue than they have in the last 8 years in 2023, and just great news. And that's why it's up 15% in one day. And but there'll be more to come on that. It's not exactly the most timely, but in some sense, this channel and my publications aren't the most timely. Now, sometimes if something happens, like when Kazatomprom, when I had that Kazatomprom release not too long ago, there's some timely things I give up. But as far as I'm concerned, your investing strategy shouldn't be reliant on getting information a couple of days late. I mean, sometimes there's information that's really crucial, but either you've been positioned in Tidewater and you rode the 15% up wave, or you're now FOMOing and trying to add after a 15% up day, or you just so happen to come across this channel on this specific day out of all the days possible, clueless about Tidewater, wanting to know about what happened and are things inflecting and this and that, and that's highly improbable. So it's like you might wonder why it went up 15%, but most people don't wonder why things go up 15%, which is interesting in of itself and shows their result-oriented nature, because they sure as hell wonder why something goes down 15%. So that's just human nature, though, and probably best to get that under control sooner than later. I don't have much to say, so I'm not going to say much more. I think I'll end it here. Shorter, quicker video. Look forward to the upcoming days in regards to a release on, I'd like Tidewater and Grown Rogue, and there's other stuff I want to talk about. There's something I kind of have published in regards to the cannabis industry. I'll just say it, like, whatever. Algos block me or not. In regards to the Ponzi-esque structure and zombie state that a lot of these companies are. Because you can think of a Ponzi scheme as needing new investors to put money into your investment to pay off the old investments. And then it's like, well, what's the whole state-led growth story then? Is that not similar in kind to a Ponzi? It was like, you need new states in order to give you peak cycle earnings as a consequence of the higher abnormal prices that will eventually normalize. So you take that money to then try to stop the hemorrhaging and to pay off the money that you're losing in the other states. You could think of old states as the old investors and new states as the new investors, and you just transfer the money in this perpetual, well, channeling of money from never to really retain it. You just like, it's quite interesting. And then there's zombie companies, because many of them need external funding because they are unprofitable. So they either need to raise equity or issue preferred equity or raise debt or sell some things off or do something, because they cannot sustain off of internally generated cash flow. And it's kind of interesting, but that's a longer article and I'm not really feeling it. So I'll publish this maybe tomorrow. I'll publish that piece. It's ready to go. It just needs published, and we'll see if that happens or not. But with that out of the way, I'll leave it here. Thank you for watching, and until next time.